Thank you for being here for the last talk of the day. I hope I will keep you awake. I heard I have more time than I thought, so I'll try and make some time for Q&A. I'm Isla. I'm from the Zuitzerland team. We're building a network state and future society sandbox in Switzerland. What the heck is this? That is what I aim to tell you about. So we are building a network state, a permanent village in Switzerland as an accelerator for open source and DAC-aligned tech. If anyone has heard, who's heard of DAC here, actually? Excellent, this is good. So actually much better than I expected. DAC, there was an essay written by Vitalik 2 years ago, approximately called My Techno-Optimism, where he talks about the fact that we need to accelerate technology in a safe way. Technology good, centralization and mind control bad. And yeah, a lot to talk about there. But anyway, so what we're building here is a place where builders can go to build, a place where anybody who really thinks about the long term of technology, humanity, society, can come and build and accelerate. Also researchers. We want to build this out as a fund, and as importantly, as a token economy that aligns the interests of long-term residents, investors, and builders. Where did this journey start? So roughly 2 years ago, I was at Zuzalu in Montenegro. Zuzalu was an event that Vitalik pulled together. It was a pop-up village over 2 months. And I remember having a resounding feeling when I was there of this is the group of people. This, if any group of people, is the group of people that can actually improve humanity and save us from some of the doom timelines that we're actually having. And this in-person village environment was the first time that I, as a builder, had actually felt like, yes, I have my place in the world. And some people find that in Silicon Valley, but I think one, Silicon Valley is one place in the world. Two, it's very expensive. And three, not everybody aligns perfectly with the Silicon Valley move fast and break things, and what we're building with DAC is more like move fast and try not to break things. So we're trying to build permanent villages for doing the builder thing without breaking things. And yeah, what this essentially is a place for people to build ambitious open source decentralized projects that need a place to coalesce. It's a place for good and important projects that would normally otherwise face the untenable choice of compromising their values or collapsing. And essentially, we're creating a place where builders have freedom to build and collaborate with peers. Why is this so important? So Vitalik outlined in this DAC essay, we need to build and accelerate. The next century, particularly the next decade, are critical for deciding our future between one where technology is accelerated, yes, but controlled by singular companies, individuals, wealthy individuals, or governments with potentially malintent. The next decade is really the decade where we probably have the most chance of averting the doom outcomes. And the way that we actually avert those outcomes is by allocating capital to the right things. As I'm sure you're all aware, hundreds of billions and trillions are already being spent on AI and will be spent on AI, mostly by centralized actors. Web3 has the chance to actually be the group of people, be the movement that accelerates technology in a way that aligns with DAC principles, where we look out for privacy, where we look out for decentralization and democratic values, and where we build open source. Who here would like to have a brain-computer interface connected and have that brain-computer interface be closed source? I'm surprised there's not at least one, but I'm very glad. So open source is definitely important if you're going to have technologies that have control over your brain, right? And there's many such examples where it's better to have open source technology, it's better to have verifiable things, and it would be better not to rely on closed source centralized actors. So we need to do something about it. At the same time as we need to do something about it, capital allocation is actually getting harder. You might have noticed that it's even harder now online with all of the AI slop and with all of the people on social media that are just bots to actually figure out who online is real, what is valid, what is worth your attention. At the same time that it's getting harder, it's actually also becoming more scalable. So you have things like conviction markets, prediction markets, launchpads, etc., also meme coins, where you can either scale the right thing or the wrong thing. So the biggest risk is not overspending, but misspending. One way or another, the money will be spent. Do we spend it on the right things or the wrong things? One of my favorite writers and bloggers, Albert Wenger, has said that we're living in an attention economy, that capital is actually not the bottleneck, attention is the bottleneck. And importantly, how does an attention economy work? Well, it means you get attention, and with that attention, you get legitimacy, and from that legitimacy follows capital. What we would actually need if we want to allocate capital to the right things is that we start with legitimacy and what is credible, and those things create signal, and then we allocate capital to those things that are actually credible and have created signal. And two of my favorite people have written about the concept of legitimacy. Vitalik talks about it as a powerful social technology and the fact that we should use it. And Alex Danko, who's an amazing blogger and has just joined A160 as a partner, writes, founders are actually customers for legitimacy. And this is a super important point. What we're trying to do is support founders, and founders are looking for legitimacy. What do they do with legitimacy? They raise capital, they get support, they hire people. So legitimacy is actually the critical bottleneck that we need to solve for, and how do we do that? And that is what we essentially, with this permanent village, are trying to do. We're trying to be a pilot in Switzerland for what hopefully will be a transnational network of such villages and accelerators. And we are trying to work in a way where we design our governance and tokenomics so that legitimacy is actually at the core. It's been really interesting with the Zuzalu pop-ups. We've seen that these physical hubs actually help us to concentrate legitimacy. If you can imagine, like, I stand up here and say something, and you go, okay, it creates a little bit of legitimacy. But if you spend a month in a pop-up village with 200 other people, the tight social graph that is created between those people becomes really obvious really quickly which people know what they're talking about and are actually building something meaningful, and which people are completely full of shit. Sorry, I hope that's okay. So what we've realized is it's kind of a social technology with these physical hubs that you can use to create lines instead of dots. And lines are really important for legitimacy. So the thesis here is we create legitimacy in these physical hubs, and then we scale that legitimacy by bringing in things like prediction markets and conviction markets. And we want to actually, with our accelerator, use conviction markets. So people that get to know each other, understand each other, build reputation, and then actually can support each other to get capital that way. So why Switzerland as a pilot? I've been in Switzerland for 10 years. I am obsessed. I'm a Switzerland maxi. It's already emerging as Crypto Valley, but it kind of lacks its Stanford. There's incredible talent. We have ETH, which is like the MIT of Europe. We have EPFL. We have the incredible people at CERN. It's #1 globally in innovation per capita, and that for the past 20 years running. There's clear and consistent regulation of Web3. It's not dependent on which government is in power today. And very importantly, there's a 700-year history of decentralized governance, and what we are kind of calling a DAC cultural technology around governance. Very interesting, most people wouldn't be aware of this, is a concept of subsidiarity. In Switzerland, power doesn't come from the federal government, it comes from the individual. Power starts with the individual as the sovereign and is delegated to the community, to the canton, and then to the federal government. And when you're building things where open source, where decentralization matters, that's a really important place to start. So we've been working with Vitalik over summer to figure out how could this actually look as a token model. Our core thinking around this, and I want to speed up so I can answer some questions, so our core thinking around this is to have, instead of just proof of stake with capital, so I have capital and I stake that, and that is the legitimacy, we want to actually have proof of stake with your legitimacy, your reputation, your credibility in the community. And that's something that we're working on as an innovation, to have a kind of hybrid proof of stake, proof of legitimacy model. The important thing really is that these villages are not going to be things that are just owned purely by investors and that no one that's in them and part of building them has a say in. We want to build these as structures where over time, the community, the cooperative of builders that are there for the long term actually has the vast majority of ownership and say over the outcome of these things. That's a hard thing to do. DAOs have shown how hard governance is, but we're taking on the challenge. So what is the core value proposition here, and what is the core value proposition of Silicon Valley? Essentially, it's legitimacy, it's access to talent, investors, experienced advisors, it's a decent lifestyle, having health and wellness, climate, a nice environment. Switzerland does well in that. And it's also runway. We need funding and investment for builders. They need a cost of living that's affordable. Switzerland does terribly on cost of living. That's one area where we're having to, like, where we have to do the innovation. And ease of doing business is important. So how we're imagining this, it's a legitimacy flywheel. Builders gather in Switzerland. They're attracted by a freedom-loving country where they can do their thing, build things that are actually aligned with their values. The legitimacy starts concentrating. There's a social graph that makes it clear who's real and who's building something meaningful. Capital allocates well. Great projects are supported and accelerated. Those things attract even more talent. More successful projects emerge, the reputation grows, the returns to the endowment fund grow. That endowment fund can sustain the hub and fund even more builders, and then more builders come and the cycle accelerates. That's the vision. So in May, we built a proof of concept in a ski resort called Laax. We worked with them. We had 200 people there for a month. And very excitingly, the ski resort is actually so excited by what we're doing that they've asked us to work with them to bring this into a pilot with them, and also potentially long-term to bring the entire resort on-chain with our ecosystem token. We're working with a number of exciting builders to build out things around identity, around reputation, around prediction markets. And 2026 is about building the MVP. And yeah, that's it. We've got big visions. The long term, we want to build our own village, really, and have the full ownership of the village by the community members. We're looking at real estate cooperatives and things like that. But yeah, I have a couple of seconds, so like 2 minutes. So if anyone has questions, I would love to answer them.
Yeah, thank you. Very bullish on what you've said. You've also explained why Switzerland as well. Just curious, so startups struggle with raising capital, right? That's one of the problems that you're solving. But where would the initial capital come in from?
It's a great question, and that is definitely the hard part. We need to essentially bootstrap an endowment fund together. That's where it matters to us that we're building a token model that people believe in, and that they can buy into this token model and say, we believe in this. That creates an additional original endowment that can then sort of scale and be reinvested and hopefully grow. At the same time, I think we are also thinking about things like for-profit funds that can be related in this ecosystem, but we have to be quite careful not to imbalance it so that then the whole thing just becomes about profit, which we've already done before.
And just a second question, right? One of the things we're also solving for is the cost of living. Is it more expensive since it's a top ski resort? And a small question is there a gym at the ski resort? Is there a gym at a ski resort? Okay.
There's a gym. There is a great gym. There is also a sauna. Important to a lot of people, there's also a cold plunge in the river. Sorry, the first part of the question was about the cost of living. The ski resort's working with us. They're doing a strategic partnership, essentially, to make it affordable for us to pilot this with them. And long term, we hope that we will even build new resorts with them.
Thank you.